This is a PSA about tobacco use by adolescents. According to the CDC, if cigarette smoking continues at the current rate among youth today, 5.6 million of today's youth will die early from a smoking-related illness. According to the Institute for Social Research at the University of Michigan, the prevalence of tobacco use by adolescents has declined steadily since the 1970s. However, it's critical that prevention efforts continue to focus on this age group, as it's been well documented that tobacco use is oftentimes initiated during the adolescent years. In the U.S., the prevalence rate of cigarette use in the past 30 days by middle schoolers and high schoolers was 1 in 50 and 2 in 25, respectively. Differences were found across male and female students. White female and Hispanic female students had a higher prevalence rate of having ever used tobacco than black female students. Cigarette use was also higher amongst white male and Hispanic male students than black male students. And the prevalence rate of tobacco use by youth varies by tobacco product. So whether you're talking about e-cigarettes, cigars, smokeless tobacco, or hookah, the prevalence rate will vary. Regardless of the tobacco product, it's important to note that tobacco use of any kind is dangerous for all individuals, especially youth. So in addition to the direct medical costs of smoking, the annual societal costs of smoking in the U.S. were between $289 and $332 billion. The estimate includes losses in productivity due to premature smoking deaths, as well as secondhand smoke inhalation. Research has shown that emotional problems like depression and anxiety are also linked to teen tobacco use. It's important to remember that significant brain development occurs during adolescence, so nicotine-related brain changes can have deleterious effects on the adolescent's brain reward system. Tobacco companies spent roughly $9.5 billion on marketing in the U.S. in 2016 alone. It's important to note that the U.S. continues to be a leading producer of tobacco leaves, so the U.S. economy benefits greatly from tobacco sales. Social workers can utilize their skills in motivational interviewing and cognitive behavioral therapy to help individuals who are interested in quit. Even though there's a well-documented basis for biological predisposition to addiction, tobacco companies also play a part in targeting vulnerable populations, like children and minorities, through flashy advertising campaigns. The Family Smoking Prevention and Tobacco Control Act of 2009 gave the FDA the authority to regulate the tobacco industry. It also banned tobacco sales to minors, vending machine sales, and tobacco brand sponsorships at sporting events. The implementation of warning labels is relatively cost-effective compared to other tobacco prevention policies, such as health education programs. Although the Family Smoking Prevention and Tobacco Control Act has been successful in its own right, there are still many ways to improve upon current prevention efforts. According to the Canadian Pediatric Society, clinicians need to integrate tobacco counseling into health assessments of teens and be aware of the roles that families, communities, and governments can play in promoting tobacco-free environments. In addition to policies that make it more challenging for adolescents to obtain tobacco, future policies should focus on addressing the environmental risk factors associated with teen tobacco use, such as familial and cultural beliefs about smoking. Social workers and primary care physicians have a stake in preventing teen tobacco use. They can help by integrating brief intervention efforts into their practices. Brief interventions like SBIRT and motivational interviewing are not only cost-effective, but they're also relatively easy to implement in both the primary care settings and the behavioral health care settings. Moreover, it's essential that prevention efforts continue to involve family members, seeing as social modeling is a well-documented behavioral phenomenon in the field of social learning theory.